السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. شكرا.
In continuation of our reading from Siyar A'alām An-Nubala by Al-Hafiz Shamsuddin Al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah, we are specifically looking at the Seerah of Fatima, Seerah Fatima, bint RasuliLlahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the life of Fatima. And that was because we had looked at the life of Aisha. We're supposed to be, it should be like I. Radiallahu anha. We want to see how should the child the Seerah of Fatima binti Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. From the last things we read about the virtues of Fatima radiallahu anha was that lengthy hadith that Al-Imam Hakim and Al-Imam Ahmad and others reported from Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhu. Here it is actually summarized if you come back to page 100 and if you come to page 123 on the second paragraph where we have that hadith from Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman that Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi said, rahimahullah, Isra'il an Seerah ibn Habib عن المنهال بن عمرو عن زر عن حذيفة قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نزل ملك نساء أهل الجنة رحمه الله. He cites this from Israel. That was Al-Imam Israel ibn Yunus ibn Abi Ishaq al-Sabi'i rahimahumullah. He got it from Maysarah ibn Habib, who was reporting from Al-Minhal ibn Amr al-Kufi, and from Zirr ibn Hubaysh. Zirr ibn Hubaysh, as we would have mentioned in the last class, was from amongst the major students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu anhu, Abu Maryam. He was the one who this time reported from Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, radiyallahu anhuma, who said that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, نزل ملك فبشرني أن فاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة. An angel came down, فبشرني, and he gave me the good news. He gave me the glad tidings. أن فاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة. He told me that Fatima radiallahu anha, he is سيدة نساء أهل الجنة. He is the head, he is the leader of the women of the people of Al-Jannah. So from those amongst the women who will head the women inside Al-Jannah, from the best of the women inside Al-Jannah, would be Fatima. And like we said in a previous, in the last that Nazala Malakun, yes, hadith. That's that Salima asks for permission regarding that angel. Lam yanzil qablaha, before that time when that angel came down. Lam yanzil qablaha, the angel had never come down to the surface of the earth, but he came down. The angel came down. فَاسْتَأْذَنَ اللَّهَ أَنْ يُسَلِّمَ عَلَيَّ, then asked for permission to say taslim to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, without having come down before that time. So when it came, it said the taslim to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The additional benefit that it brought, apart from all that it has brought to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, was that فَبَشَّرَنِي, the angel gave me good news, أَنَّ فَاطِمَةَ سَيِّدَةُ نِسَاءِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. The angel came to give me a news of delight and joy, that Fatima, my daughter, she is Sayyidatu Nisa'i Ahlil Jannah. She is the head of the women of the people of Al-Jannah. Fatima radiyallahu anha, Sayyidatu Nisa'i Ahlil Jannah. This hadith, reported from Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman, it was preceded, as we had said in the previous classes, it was preceded by a lengthy narration from Etni Ummi Mata Ahdu Salam. My mother had asked me, when was the last time I had a meet with the Prophet? Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman, his mother had asked, when was the last time you met the Prophet? Alayhi salatu wassalam. فَقُلْتُ مَا لِي بِهِ أَحَدٌ مُنْذُ كَذَا وَكَذَا. He answered that I had not met the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. مُنْذُ كَذَا وَكَذَا. Since so and so time, I had not met the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. At that, Hudhayfa's mother, radiyallahu anha, فَنَالَتْ مِنِّي, Hudhayfa said, my mother began to berate me. She began to blame me. She began to reproach me. Why would you have stayed long away from the Prophet? Alayhi salatu wassalam. فَقُلْتُ لَهَا, Hudhayfa said, then I said to my mom, دعيني آتي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأصلي معه المغرب. Mommy, just leave me. آتي النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. I would go to the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام فأصلي معه المغرب, and I would observe Salatul Maghrib together with him. وأسأله أن يستغفر لي ولك, and I will specially request the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to beg Allah to forgive me and to ask Allah to forgive you. Radiyallahu anhuma. So Hudhayfa came that day. He observed Salatul Maghrib together with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and said, فَتَبِعْتُهُ, then I followed the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَسَمِعَ صَوْتِي, when I followed the Prophet, he heard the sound of my coming towards him from behind him. فَقَالَ, then the Prophet asked alayhi salatu wasalam, مَنْ هَذَا, Hudhayfa, who is this? Is that Hudhayfa? قُلْتُ نَعْمْ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. I answered, Naam, I am the one, O Messenger of Allah. The Prophet asked again alayhi salatu wasalam, مَا حَاجَتُكَ غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ وَلِأُمِّكَ. What is it that you want? May Allah forgive you May Allah pardon your mother. May Allah forgive you. غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ وَلِأُمِّكَ. May Allah forgive you. May Allah forgive your mother. That was what Hudhayfa was coming to ask for. But that was what exactly the Prophet had given him. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Wa radiyallahu anhuma. So that was when the Prophet gave him an additional message. In some of the riwayat of this hadith, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked him, because Hudhayfa had seen someone walking away from the Prophet. So he asked him whether he saw that person. And upon a response, the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that nazala malakun fabasharani anna Fatimata sayyidatu nisa'i ahlil jannah. This was the context of this hadith that we have just read from Al-Imam Hakim, in other reports of it by Al-Imam Ahmad, by Al-Imam At-Tirmidhi. It will give us a fuller picture of what happened before the Prophet made that statement, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So it is about Fatima that Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi just brought to us in that hadith. What was it about her? Anna Fatimata sayyidatu nisa'i ahlil jannah. That the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, the angel came down to tell me that Fatima, my daughter, is the head of the women of the people of Al-Jannah. Radiyallahu anha. In that paragraph that followed, which will form the core of our lesson today, Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi went to tell us again about Fatima, something between Fatima radiyallahu anha and her father, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This time, Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi mentions this well-known report. He said, Yahya ibn Abi Kathir قال دخل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على فاطمة وأنا معه وقد أخذت من عنقها سلسلة من ذهب فقالت هذه أهداها لي أبو حسن فقال يا فاطمة أيسرك أن يقول الناس هذه فاطمة بنت محمد وفي يدها سلسلة من نار ثم خرج فاشترت بالسلسلة غلاما فاعتقته وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم الحمد لله الذي نجى فاطمة من النار. This hadith, as brief as it is here, is a very, very lengthy hadith. And I think it would be beneficial to tell us the entire lengthy story. It will enhance our understanding of the part of it that has been mentioned here. Here. Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah only mentioned what happened in this report between Fatima radiallahu anha and the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But the story is bigger, with the same isnad of Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, Abū Nāsir al-Yamani, rahimahullah, who was reporting from Abu Salam Mamtur. Abi Salam was Mamtur al-Habashi. He is reporting from Abu Asma Amr ibn Marsad al-Dimashqi, who is the tabi of this hadith. Amr ibn Marsad, he is Abu Asma, and reporting from Thawban. Thawban, I'm sure we remember him. He was Mawla RasuliLlahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Abu Abdullah. Thawban radiyallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to him one day, Ya Thawban, in shi'ita, if you like, radiyallahu anhu, an tahliqa an talhaq biman anta minhum. إن شئت أن تلحق بمن أنت منهم فَافْعَلْ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to Thawban, إِن شِئْتَ أَن تَلْحَقَ بِمَنْ مَعَكَ بِمَنْ أَنْتَ مِنْهُمْ. If you choose to return to man anta minhum, those that you are from. He gave him the option of returning home. وَإِن شِئْتَ أَن تَثْبُتْ فَأَنْتَ مِنَّا أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ. But if you choose to remain with us, then you are from us. يعني نحن أهل البيت. We, the people of the household of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So Thawban was that companion the Prophet gave a choice. In shi'ta an talhaqa biman anta minhum faf'al. If you want to go back, you can go. So Thawban refused to leave the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even when he gave him an option to go. Radiyallahu anhu. Thawban is the one reporting this hadith. Here, as we have it in Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, it said that دخل RasuliLlahi alayhi salatu wasalam ala Fatimata wa ana ma'ahu. So you would understand how come Thawban was with the Prophet. Thawban was a freed slave of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He was always with the Prophet within the house, inside the house, from one room to the other. Thawban was there to run the errands of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So here he's telling us about the umuru ad-dakhiliyah, the affairs of the inner parts of the house of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because he was a freed slave inside that house. So he said, دخل RasuliLlahi alayhi salatu wa salam ala Fatimah. To the apartment of Fatima wa ana ma'ahu. That time when he went, I was with him. وَقَدْ أَخَذَتْ مِنْ عُنُكِهَا سِلْسِلَةً مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. At that time, Fatima had removed a chain of gold, a golden chain. قَدْ أَخَذَتْ مِنْ عُنُكِهَا سِلْسِلَةً مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. Fatima had just removed a golden chain from her neck. فقالت, then Fatima said, رضي الله عنها, هذه أهداها لي أبو حسن. It was given to me as a who? Abu Hassan, referring to her husband Ali ibn Abi Talib. فقال, then the Prophet said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ya Fatima, O Fatima, ayasurruki an yakula nas. Does it delight you? Would you be happy about it? That the people begin to say, هذه فاطمة بنت محمد وفي يدها سلسلة من نار. Would you be glad that people begin to say that this is Fatima bint Muhammad, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, was holding a chain from the fire hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam is referring to the chain, a golden chain that Fatima was holding. The Prophet referred to it as silsilatun min nar, as a chain from the fire, because that chain kanat min zahabin, because the chain was from gold. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called it a chain from the fire. ثم خرج فاشترت بالسلسلة غلاما. Then Fatima went out بثمنه, with our bisiha, with the money she got from the sale of the chain. اشترت غلاما, she brought a slave, she bought who? And then she freed her, and then using the money from the chain that the Prophet had called alayhi salatu wasalam silsilatun min nar, she purchased from it a slave and then freed the slave. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Thereupon the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, Alhamdulillah الذي نجى فاطمة من النار. Alhamdulillah الذي all praise and thanks belong to Allah, نجى فاطمة من النار, who had saved Fatima from the fire. عنها here, and it talks about do righteous deeds. When her father referred to her chain as a chain from the fire, she hastened to sell off that chain. She used the money to buy a slave, and she freed the slave. Her father, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, was happy about that. This was a girl that he just spoke to. That why was she wearing a golden chain? Habihi ahadaha li Abu Hassan was the response. Fatima responded that my husband Ali had given me the chain as a gift. But the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ayasurruki an yakula an-nas. Oh Fatima, would it be pleasing to you that people say that Fatima did not daughter of Muhammad? This is Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad. وَفِي يَدِهَا سِلْسِلَةٌ مِّن نَارٍ. She has a chain on her hand from the fire. Prophet ﷺ called her attention to that chain, that it was not appropriate for her to wear a chain from gold. The Prophet was not criticizing in this hadith wearing chain. He was rather criticizing the fact that the chain was from gold. This hadith that we have read here occurs in many books of hadith. It occurs in the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah. It occurs in Sunan al-Nasa'i, Al-Imam al-Nasa'i. Here in Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi mentions it from Abu Dawud. But it is not from Al-Imam Abu Dawud al-Sijistani, the author of As-Sunan, well known as Abu Dawud. This is another Imam Abu Dawud. His own name is Abu Dawud al-Tayalisi. He has another book called Al-Musnad that we refer to as Musnad al-Tayalisi. So this hadith occurs in Musnad al-Tayalisi. It occurs in the Sunan of Al-Imam al-Nasa'i. It occurs in the Mustadrak of Al-Imam Hakim. It occurs in the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad. And like I told us at the beginning, it's a lengthy story, and I think it would be useful to read the story from the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad, from the report of Thawban, Mawla RasuliLlahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Anna ibnata Jubayrata dakhalat ala Rasulillah. This is the beginning of the story. A woman called Ibnatu Jubayra came to the house of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. وَفِي يَدِهَا فَوَاتِيمُ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. This woman had some rings, خواتيم من ذهب. The woman was wearing rings from gold. Golden rings were on the hands of this woman, Ibnatu Jubayra. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when this woman came in, he saw these rings, alayhi salatu wasalam. These rings used to be called al-fatahu. Those huge, big rings, they used to be called al-fatahu. In other reports, also from Thawban, it said that these rings called al-fatahu, They were khawatim, bikham. They were very heavy rings of rings. Rings. RasuliLlahi with a short stick that he was holding. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was holding a short stick, and he began to beat the hand of that woman with the short stick that he was holding. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yaqulu laha. As he was beating the hand of that woman who was wearing that golden chains, golden rings, heavy rings, khawatim, khawatimu difama. He was wearing heavy all from gold. The woman was beat the Prophet, and then as he did that, he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ayasurruki, an yaj'al Allahu fi yadiki khawatima minna. O woman, Ayasurruki, an yaj'al Allahu fi yadiki khawatima minna. Would you be delightful? Will you be happy that Allah places rings from the fire on your hands? As he was beating the golden rings, rings made from gold, as the Prophet was beating it, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was saying to the woman, would you be glad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places rings from the fire to your hand? Will you be happy about that? This woman, fa'atat Fatimata, she left the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and she went to Fatima. فَشَكَتْ إِلَيْهَا مَا صَنَعَ بِهَا RasuliLlahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She came to explain to Fatima ma sana'a biha Rasulullah, what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had done with her. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was beating her hand with a stick that he was holding and saying to her, Ayasurruki an yaj'al Allahu fi yadiki khawatima min nar. Would you be glad? Will you be happy that Allah places rings on your hands from the fire? So this woman came to say that to Fatima. Tawban said, وَانْطَلَقْتُ أَنَا مَعَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. So when the woman had gone to Fatima, I left myself with the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. We went to the place of Fatima. فَقَامَ خَلْفَ الْبَابِ. The Prophet was standing behind the door. وَكَانَ إِذَا اسْتَأْذَنَ قَامَ خَلْفَ الْبَابِ. The Prophet, when he asked for permission to come in, he wouldn't just be asking for permission and coming in. He will wait behind the door. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَقَالَتْ لَهَا فَاطِمَةٌ. So when the woman told Fatima what the Prophet had done to her, Fatima radiyallahu anha replied and said, Unzuri ila hadhihi silsila. So the reason why Fatima removed her chain was because that woman complained that the Prophet was beating her hands with a stick that he was holding, alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet was beating her fingers with the stick because the fingers had golden rings. When he said that, Fatima removed her own chain. Hey, this is my own chain. Allati ahadaha ilayya Abu Hassan. That my husband Abu Hassan Ali ibn Abi Talib had given me as a gift. That was why Fatima removed that chain from her neck. فَدَخَلَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Thereupon the Prophet came in. فَقَالَ يَا Fatima. Then he said to her, O Fatima, بِالْعَدْلِ أَنْ يَكُولَ النَّاسِ. Is that fair? Is it from fairness that the people should say that Fatima bintu Muhammadin wa fi yadiki silsilatu minna? Is it fair that people refer to you as Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad? Why you have on your hands a chain from fire? What does he mean by a chain from fire? A chain made from gold. The scholars like Al-Imam Muhammad Nasiruddin Al-Albani rahimahullah, he employs this hadith as evidence that it is not lawful for women to use golden chain, golden rings that are entirely gold, golden chains and golden rings, because the chain goes round, the rings also go round, the necklaces also go round, the leg chains also go round. The golden ornaments that go completely round should not be used by a woman. They should rather make a part of the roundness to be from silver. Imām Al-Albani said if a part of it is from silver, it would have gone out of the blame in this hadith. In this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ condemned the use of golden rings that are entirely golden. He condemned that by beating the hand of Ibnatu Jubayra and saying to her that, Ayasurruki an yaj'alallahu fi yadiki khawatima min nar. Will it please you that Allah places on your fingers rings from the fire? He referred to golden rings, rings that are entirely gold. That what should be from the gold rings when women use golden rings is that it should not be entirely round. That is where a mas'ala that's always discussed amongst the people regarding these matters like this, they call it mas'ala to al-zahab al-muhalla. The mas'ala of the golden ornaments that goes round either the fingers or the neck or the wrist or the legs as leg chains. Al-Imam Al-Albani rahimahullah, this hadith is evidence that such ornaments should not be used. If a woman is going to use a chain, she should use a chain, yes, golden all around, but a part of it should be made of silver. Part of it should be silver, or that the entirety of the chain that going around her neck is silver. Then the, what do you call the head of the chain? Pendant. Then the pendant can be gold. So the entire chain going around the neck should be silver, while the pendant is gold. Or that even the chain that goes round can be gold, but a part of it should be cut and made to be silver. It should not be entirely gold. Why? We have seen in this hadith that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he was beating the hands of Ibnatu Jubayra and saying to her that, Ayasurruki an yaj'alallahu fi yadiki khawatima min nar, khawatima min nar. And when he saw Fatima too, radiyallahu anha, the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ya Fatima, bil-adli an yakula nas. It would be from fairness and justice that the people should say, Fatima to bint RasuliLlahi, refer to you as my daughter, while fi yadiki silsilatu min nar, while you are having a chain from the fire. The chain the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam referred to as a chain from the fire was a chain made from complete gold, all round gold. In this hadith, Thawban went on and said, ثُمَّ عَظَمَهَا عَظْمًا شَدِيدًا. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam thereupon, عَظَمَهَا عَظْمًا شَدِيدًا. He began to very seriously blame Fatima. All people, we know how much the Prophet loved Fatima, radiyallahu anha. But when it comes to a thing of the prohibitions of Allah, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was strong with her. He had told us in a hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that innama Fatimatu bad'atun minni. Fatima is a part of me. فَمَنْ أَغْضَبَهَا أَغْضَبَنِي. Whoever makes Fatima to go annoyed will make me go annoyed. Yet, here in this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, عَذَمَهَا عَذْمًا شَدِيدًا. He was blaming and reproaching Fatima. Why should you be playing with a chain made of gold? Why do you have golden chain? Why are you wearing golden chain? Why are you wearing a chain from the fire? Is it appropriate that people come and see you? You are Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, and yet you have golden chains with you that the Prophet ﷺ referred to as silsilatun min nar. Thumma azamaha. Then he began to blame her azman shadida, very strongly. Thumma kharaja wa lam yaqud. To further show disavowal, the Prophet ﷺ went out. Lam yaqud. He did not sit down. He did not sit down in the house of Fatima. فَأَمَرَتْ بِالسِّلْسِلَةِ فَبِيعَتْ. As for Fatima radiallahu anha, أَمَرَتْ بِالسِّلْسِلَةِ. He commanded that that golden chain to be taken to the market. فَبِيعَتْ. And it was sold. فَاشْتَرَتْ بِثَمَنِهَا عَبْدًا. Fatima employed the cost, the money from her sale of that golden chain and golden a slave with it, and then she freed the slave. This means it does not mean that we cannot sell a ring. This does not mean that we cannot sell a golden chain or a golden ring. You can sell a golden chain you can sell rings. When you want to wear a golden ring, make sure that it is not aired for his own daughter, Fatima, his beloved, radiallahu anha, and for Ibnatu Hubayra, who was wearing the golden rings. فَلَمَّا سَمِعَ بِذَلِكَ النَّبِيُّ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam heard about her selling the silsila, the chain from gold, kabbara akbar, meaning he was glad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa qala, and then he said alayhi salatu wa salam, alhamdulillahi alladhi najja Fatimata. All praise and thanks belong to Allah who has Fatima from the fire. Oh ikhwa, this is the full story of that hadith. Azman Shadida. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spoke about it to Fatima, Azamaha, he was blaming her, Azman Shadida, very, very strongly. He blamed her. Why are you using golden chain, oh my daughter? Would you want it that people come back and begin to say, Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, radiyallahu anha, she has with her golden chain or golden ring, as was the case with Ibnatu Ubayra. Like I have said, this hadith prohibits that the woman employs golden chain, and that what the woman should do, how cut a part of it to make silver, make a part of it to be silver, so that it is partly silver and partly gold, partly silver and partly gold, or that it is the round part of it that goes around the neck will be entirely silver and the pendant will be a golden pendant. The same thing applies to earrings. Earrings that are round, avoid it when they are gold. Why? It will fall under these because they are just like the round chain or the round chain or the one we put on the hand is called what? Rings. It's either like the round chain or the round rings. This hadith, Al-Imam Al-Hafiz Al-Munziri, who wrote At-Targhib wa Tarhib, he calls it that this hadith is authentic. Likewise, Al-Imam Hakim Al-Nisaburi, long before him, he also grades the hadith authentic. And Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi bit-Tasrih made muwafaqa. He conformed with that ruling from Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi. He was not only silent on it, he actually said that this hadith is authentic. Likewise, Al-Hafiz Al-Iraqi also said that this isnad of this hadith is jayyid. And Ibn Hazmin in Al-Muhalla, rahimahullah, he did not criticize the hadith to be weak. And that would mean, from his approach in that book, Al-Muhalla, is that he considers this hadith to be authentic. Many other scholars also grade this hadith to be authentic in its isnad. But there are others amongst the scholars who say that the hadith is not authentic, like Ibn al-Qattan al-Fasi, rahimahullah, like Shaykh Al-Arnaut, our book that hadith, Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, as we saw it, reporting from Abu Salam, Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, reporting from Abu Salam and Abi Asma. This is just one of the asanid. From the rest of the asanid with which this has been reported, Yahya ibn Abi Kathir reported it. He said, Haddathani Zayd ibn Salam an Abi Salam. Zayd ibn Salam was the Shaykh of Yahya ibn Kathir in this hadith. And Yahya ibn Kathir, even though he was mudallis, he made at-tasrih bit-tahdith, saying that Haddathani Zayd ibn Salam. So the problem about at-tadlis goes away. And many of the scholars even grade Yahya ibn Abi Kathir as from those scholars, even though they made tadlis, whenever they say al-an-ana, they are making an-ana and istiqat. Their an-ana is an an-ana from a-siqat. So the scholars treat it as if they even reported the hadith with an expression of with the expression of al-ikhbar or with the expression of at-tahdith, that this hadith it's not is sahih. Those of us who get really busy with the matters of hadith, I like us to go back to the book Hayatul Albani, which was written by Sheikh Muhammad Al-Shaybani, about the life of Sheikh Al-Albani, in 2 big volumes. If you come to the volume 1, page 123, Al-Imam Al-Albani discusses the authenticity of this hadith for 10 pages. He answered all the issues raised against the authenticity of this hadith by Sheikh Ismail Al-Ansari, and that was affirmed by Sheikh Shuaib Al-Arnaut and others amongst the scholars. And his conclusion, rahimahullah, in Hayatul Albani by Sheikh Muhammad Al-Shaybani, the conclusion of Al-Imam Al-Albani rahimahullah after that 10-page discussion is that this hadith is authentic. That the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam one day, Ibnatu Hubayra came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and she was wearing golden rings. And the Prophet began to say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ayasurruki an yaj'al Allahu fi yadiki khawatima min narin, would it please you that Allah places rings on your hands that are from the fire? This woman came into the house to tell Fatima about what her father, the Prophet, just said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That led to Fatima's bringing out her own chain from her neck and showing it to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam after he had asked for permission together with Thawban and come into her apartment. And the Prophet began to blame Fatima for having that chain from gold. And then he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would it be pleasing to you that the people say that Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, she's also using golden rings? ثُمَّ عَظَمَهَا عَظْمًا شَدِيدًا. Then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam began to very strongly blame Fatima radiyallahu anha. Not just that. ثُمَّ خَرَجَ وَلَمْ يَقْعُدْ. The Prophet went out and salam for what he saw with. She quickly sent that chain to the market, got it sold. She bought a slave with it and freed the slave. This shows that they were people yusari'una ila al-khairat. They make good efforts. They hasten to make good deeds. Once they hear that something is inappropriate, they quickly look for a means of doing what is appropriate, jettisoning what they have found to become inappropriate. This hadith is a major proof to say that it is inappropriate for women to use golden rings that go around. Please get it right. Don't just go and say, oh, we were told not to use golden rings. The rings go around the finger. It can be a part of it gold, another part silver. Or that the entirety of what goes around your finger is silver and the pendant on it is what? Gold. You can do all of that. You can use a golden pendant when the chain that goes around the neck is silver. Or that you use part of the ring, part of the chain that goes around the neck, part of it is gold, part of it is silver. You can use it like this. For an entirely round golden ornament, we have seen in this hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam referred to it as khawatimu min nar for the rings and silsilatun min nar for the chain. And the hadith, this hadith is authentic. There are other things around it that I hope that when questions arise, we'll be able to, liLla, make further fuller explanations regarding them. Abū Abdur-Rahman. نعم. أبو عبد الرحمن.
يا شيخنا جزاكم الله خيرا يا شيخنا.
آمين وأنتم فجزاكم الله خيرا أبا يوسف.
Now, I think someone needs more clarification on the question that says, from the hadith, is it permissible to deal in buying and selling gold?
Yes, that question was answered because Fatima radiallahu anha sold that gold radiallahu anha. If it was not that was clear from the hadith. Fatima sold the gold. So if it's permissible to sell it, it is permissible to buy it. What is impermissible was also clearly mentioned in that hadith, that it becomes made round as a ring for a woman or round as a chain by a woman. This is what is not allowed. And what is allowed regarding that too was repeatedly mentioned in the class.
Another question is, what if the chain is just gold plated and not real gold made? Is it okay?
It is lawful. It is lawful. It is lawful because it is not entirely gold. It is lawful for women.
Naam. Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykhana.
I mean,
So another one says, okay, about when doing tayammum, are we going to rub our hands first or face?
you start with the وَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ مِنْهُ. You start with the hand and then your face. The scholars say there's taqdeem and ta'khir. So you start with the hand and then the face.
Naam, jazakumullah khairan, Shaykhana.
Is that clear?
Naam, ya Shaykhana.
Okay.
Now another one says, when taking permission to enter, are we going to knock before taslim or the other way around?
You say taslim first. You say taslim first. Once you say taslim, then you can knock gently. Or you say a'alij or a'adkhul. You say any one of these expressions. A'adkhul or a'alij. If you don't say any of these expressions, then you can knock. The knocking is in the position of clearly asking to come in. When you knock, what you are saying is that, can I come in? So you can say it on your mouth without knocking. And you can knock if you are not saying it with your mouth. So, but the first thing you do before any of these is that you say the taslim.
Now, jazakumullah khairan, Shaykhana. The other one says, what if the gold is already mixed with steel or silver before making it a chain?
It is not an entire gold. The issue is about an entire golden chain, an entire golden a necklace or leg chain or golden rings.
Now, jazakumullah khairan. Another one says, can we beautify our ears with beads?
Don't add anything to your hairs when you beautify it. The Prophet Muhammad said, زجر النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم المرأة أن تطل بشعرها شيئا that a woman, the Prophet warned the women not to do so. Avoid putting anything on your hair. It is not just talking about hair like wigs. No, it's beyond wigs because the hadith actually hang anything there. Don't add to it. Don't design with it. Unfortunately, many scholars are of this view, but people sometimes think that it is strange. It is not strange. The Prophet said it, alayhi salatu wasalam, and the hadith is authentic in Sahih Muslim. Al-Imam al-Shawkani in Nail al-Awtar was extensive. He has this view too. Likewise, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Adam al-Ethiopi in his sharh on Sahih Muslim regarding this hadith, it was extensive too. His conclusion too was that, rahimahullah, it is not appropriate to tie anything to the hairs, whether a rope, whether a ribbon, whether a colorful designs. Don't put on your heads any other than your hairs. Leave your hairs. Make your hairs, make hairdos and all that. But don't tie things from outside it to it.
Jazakumullah khairan, ya Shaykhana. That one says, can men wear wristwatches that are golden color but not gold?
Yes, they can wear wristwatches of golden color. Men, they can wear wristwatches of golden color. There's no blame, inshallah.
Now, someone is asking this question repeatedly, though I don't seem to understand the question. The question reads, if a person buys gold in exchange for a new gold piece and makes up the difference by paying cash, what can the person do to come out of the issue with this?
Naam.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you now.
Okay, the question reads, well, if someone buys, let me see, if someone buys gold in exchange for a new gold piece, and makes up the difference by paying cash, what can the person do to come out of the issue with this?
What do you mean by new gold? Gold of a bigger quantity?
No, something like that, African.
60 or what? Gold for gold should be equal mass for equal mass, equal weight for equal weight. You can only exchange a gold of 5 grams, 5 grams for 5 grams, 6 grams for 6 grams. This is how gold can be exchanged for gold. Gold can be exchanged for gold 5 for 5. But it is when you exchange gold for silver, you can trade it. But when you are exchanging gold for gold, it must be 5 grams for 5 grams. Silver, 5 grams for silver, 5 grams. Is this what the person means? If a person asks for 10 grams of gold to be exchanged for 5 grams of gold, faqad arba, you have gone beyond asking for riba. This is from the aspects of riba al-fadl. So it is
No.
Just like 1,000 naira for 900 naira. 1,000 naira can be exchanged for 1,000 naira. 1 naira can be exchanged for 10 units of 100 naira. But to say one single unit of 1 1,000 of Abba Yusuf, can we call it a day here?
No, mi Africana. Barakallahu fikum. Can you hear me, sir?
Someone's gold bars as assets, but don't forget you pay zakat on women too. When you own gold, golden ornaments, you pay zakat. Someone says, can we have golden bars, pure gold bars? Yes, you can own them as an asset, but don't forget who have golden ornaments. Is it clear, Abba Rahman, Abba Yusuf?
No, mi Africana. Jazakumullahu khairan.
There's also a question from a sister. She's repeating it. Are we talking about golden color or gold material? We are talking about gold as a material, gold. All the entire discussion is about gold. The Prophet saw, alayhi salatu wasalam, golden chain. He prohibited it. He saw golden rings. He prohibited it. Allahu alam. We can call it today, biiznillah.
No, the person that asked about exchanging gold for gold said it's about old golden earrings. She exchanged it with a new one, and she was asked to add money to the old one.
Is it upon equal mass or weight, 5 grams for 5 grams? What does new gold mean? Yes. I don't know.
She said yes. 5 grams for 5 grams, but one is old, the other one is new.
It's like exchanging old dates for new dates. It is the date of a kind for the date of another kind. At-tamru bi-tamr. Al-zahabu bi-zahab. Equal for equal. It must be exchanged on the same sitting. And there must not be additional. If you bring a good type of dates to collect old type or bad dates, you can only sell your bad dates to now buy whatever you can from new dates. Otherwise, when you exchange dates, there must be equal weight for equal weight of dates. So the same thing would apply if you buy gold. 5 grams for 5 grams. 10 grams for 10 grams. No increment. And the exchange must be made on the spot. I hope that it is clear.
نعم يا شيخنا. جزاكم الله خيرا. أحسن الله إليكم.
Allahu A'lam. You can call it today about the Rahman.
نعم يا شيخنا. أحسن الله
Ameen.
إليكم.
Wassalamu alaikum.
وعليكم